Welcome everyone to our first ever Breeders Education puppy evaluation. We're going to attempt to do this live. This is a litter that I bred along with Donna Larson, and it is sired by my male Thomas, and the dam of the litter is a bitch named Amelia. And I will post a pedigree for the breeding after when we do the replay video. It'll be embedded in there so that you can look at the pedigree of the dogs involved. This for me was kind of a sentimental litter to do because it line breeds back on some of my early bred by kind of top winning dogs, both Audrey and Liam. And though it's a few generations back, it's a beautiful tail female line breeding. And what that means is if you look at the bottom line on both the male and the female that were bred together, that is where the line breeding occurs. And according to Pat Trotter, it's a very effective way to line breed, to maintain type as well as to seal in certain qualities that you're looking for. And her book, which is Born to Win, Breed to Succeed. Thank you, Tekla. Yeah. Is a very good resource in terms of learning some of the ins and outs of what different line breedings do and how you kind of pull some of that information through genetically that you're hoping to seal in. I have two people helping me today on this side of things. Rebecca Hoskins, who's Springbrook English Springers, and Tekla Vicker, who is Dartech English Springers. And the way that this came about is as we've been breeding over the years, we've done something called puppy parties. And we try to get various breeders together to give their insight and opinions on puppies that we're going over. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. We all have our personal preferences. And so it helps to kind of get different perspectives as you're evaluating your litter, especially if you have other breeders that live near you. If not, maybe doing a virtual puppy party is a good way to be able to gain feedback as you're looking at your litter. This little guy is being very cooperative. He's a little sleepy, but we'll wake him up with some food. And this puppy is Barry. He's one of the three boys. All of my puppies were named after love song singers. So if you're wondering where some of the names came from, that's where. So again, the sire of this litter is Thomas, and the dam is Amelia. And Amelia is co-owned with Donna Larson, so she co-bred this litter with me. I'm going to talk about some of the logistic things in terms of going over the puppies. And then we're going to have Tekla and Becky go over the three boys. And then I'll kind of explain back what we're doing and what we're looking for. Again, if you have questions, please put them through in chat. For those of you who were in attendance when we did the Breeders Education event at the National last year, we used a series of dots to show the angles of the puppies. And so this, the top dot here is on the point of the puppy's hip. This dot is close to or on the ischium, which is the tailbones, or it's the point, the little shelf you can feel behind the puppy. And then this dot is on the stifle joint. We have a red dot, hopefully you can see it here, that's at the top of the shoulder blade. We have a dot on the point of the shoulder, and then a dot on the actual elbow of the puppy. And these aren't 100% precise, but they're at least, they should give you a good visual in terms of looking at the angles and the balance of the puppy. And another important thing to watch is kind of where my hands go as I'm going over the puppies and as we talk about it, because you can tell a lot even watching judges. As they're examining dogs, you can really tell a lot about where their hands go and kind of what they're feeling and seeing. So this again is Barry. You got to put your foot down, bud. Barry is not fond of placing his left front foot, so we'll give him some slack. These guys are 8 weeks old as of Saturday, so they're at a really good age to evaluate. I do try to evaluate litters and really make decisions at 8 weeks because that's what I've found in my lines have been the most representative of what they're going to be as adults. After 8 weeks, they do change more. They change a lot between 6 and 8 weeks also. So I don't like to pick puppies before 8 weeks. You might have favorites. We did in this litter, and some of them have changed. But really that 8-week date is what you're going to look for in terms of evaluation and trying to pick the best puppy for you. One of the things that I wanted to talk about also was having a goal when you start your litter or you're doing a breeding. And my goal with this litter was really to get back to some of the qualities that I've had in my early bred by dogs, which are descended from Becky's breeding program, and also some other breeders have had influence in there as well. But I had particular success with two of my bred by animals, which were Audrey, who was Tagalong's My Oh My, and Liam, who is Tagalong's Boy Oh Boy. And so I wanted to be able to breed back into those pedigrees and line breed to really cement in some of those qualities and maybe get back to some of those qualities. So you may hear me mention those names as we go through these puppies. Now, bringing in some of the Dartec bred dogs also has brought some nice qualities to these puppies. And then Amelia is actually, her sire is Teddy, the Cerise dog. And I'm absolutely blanking on his registered name, but he was Howard's previous special to the one he has out now. And so I've got some Cerise on the top side of the pedigree with her. And then with Thomas, there's actually some Telltale through Violet. Violet is Thomas's mother, and Violet was sired by Telltale Regal. His call name was Arthur. So there are some different pedigrees at play in here, but the ones that I'm really looking for and the attributes that I'm picking are coming through from things that are familiar from a family of dogs that I'm looking to really continue to work with and develop. So this puppy, I'm going to stand him up again. He's getting very sleepy, so poor little Barry. This was one of the puppies that people were very favorable about when I posted the 7-week photos of him, and he is a very handsome puppy. There are some things that have changed a little bit with some of the other puppies that kind of make our picks maybe a little different than what we first anticipated. And you can see I'm doing things like picking him up and hanging the puppy. And what this does is it shows you really where those legs are going to drop naturally. It's best to do it when the puppy is relaxed, because if you do it and the puppy is really tense or scared or going, "What the heck are you doing to me?" sometimes their front legs come out or their back legs go out and they kind of splay out. So that's not a realistic indication. But you can see when I pick him up that his front legs are dropping directly below his shoulder, which is desirable. And his back legs are also dropping in a good place underneath him. He's not pushing his legs way out behind him. He can't even do that because it's unnatural. But we definitely don't want, at this age, you do not want a puppy's rear way out behind it. because that indicates that you've got too long of a second thigh here. Some other techniques that we do is hanging them looking directly into a mirror. So you can see his front legs. He's going, what are you doing? His front legs he has toes out just a tiny bit on this left foot. But when I hold him out, he's got that straight column of support that we definitely want to see. And you can also see here that he's got some depth in front of him. Puppies you want to have that rib cage just like an adult dog. You want that down at least to the elbow, if not below. So you want that body depth and substance. This is a very substantial puppy. He's got a lot of rib spring. And we'll talk about some of the details about him a little bit more. When you look at it from the rear, when you hang the puppy and then set him down, he's kind of a gummy butt, but you can see that he's pretty well putting his legs straight down behind him. He does tend to, you can see he's maybe not quite as strong right here. He's not holding onto his hocks quite as well as I would like. I'd like to see those. And you can fix it easily. It's something that is, again, it's a detail that you'll want to pay attention to. He has what I would consider more of a V shape in his rear rather than a U shape, which is something we learned working with Julie Roberts as a mentor. And it really can indicate a dog that's going to have a little bit rounder thigh, and also a dog that's going to move or track a little bit with a little bit more width and strength off the rear. What I have found with puppies this age, he has a fair amount of angulation. So when you look at the bend of stifle on this puppy, it does come underneath him really well. So he has quite a bit of angle on his rear, and sometimes that takes some time to muscle up. So I'm not necessarily going to discount a dog that's got a good bend of stifle. If other things are nice about them, I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. Another thing that we talked about with going over adult dogs was lay on versus lay back of shoulder blade. So just to talk about that again, since Barry's being such a good boy, lay on is how the scapula wraps around the rib cage. It's how closely it's going to lay onto that rib cage. Lay back is the angle pointed down the back. So when we talk about shoulder angulation, there's this angle, and then this is your lay back. So how far does this go and point basically down the back of the dog? Lay on again is the wrap. When you have a puppy at this age that has a lot of rib, and this puppy, I can barely span his rib cage with one hand. He's pretty full bodied through here. When you have a shoulder blade, if his shoulder blades were very close to almost touching in the middle above his spine, you would end up having a puppy that probably moved wide because they don't have anywhere for their legs to go if their shoulder blades are pinched together like this. So a puppy that is a little bit wider, his legs are nice and tight against his body. If he's got a big rib cage, he's going to be able to move a lot truer. So just some things to keep in mind. And we're going to have Becky and Tekla come and go over the boys. And I will try to change the name tags out so you can see which ones they're going over. And when we do these puppy parties, like I said, we don't always agree on the same things because we might have different priorities. We might have things that are more important in our breeding program compared to someone else's. So it's just interesting to get a lot of feedback and to be able to use that insight as we are evaluating puppies. So, do you guys want to start with Barry? Okay, tackle you on him.
You can step down. And you can get over and like like you want to stack it. Just go to take it there. Then you so you think he's upright, or I mean, he's not bad. He looks like he's gotta try him. I mean, he feels pretty good here. Yeah. Let's stop. And I love this. It's hard to do when I know what they all look like. I don't. Okay. He's like on not cooperating on that one side. There. Well, when I, of course, look at their heads, they're looking for the right the evenness. Yeah. And then here, go down the sides, and there's not. This is really smooth here. So, let's do that. Pretty head. Here, you do. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. He's not there. Okay, back. Go ahead. Go over. You want to go over? Yes. You could talk. So top of shoulder, point of shoulder. You can do the fingers. Like here's the point. Top of the withers, point of shoulder, and then elbow. So we always do that. And good body depth. With body depth. Nice upper arm. And the top line straight. Yes. The top. Oh my. Neat. It's like, I'm starving. Yes. Okay, do next puppy. Yep. No puppies. The names are no dogs. Well, so this puppy is Marvin. Okay. This puppy's starving. Yes. Starving. You could put food like that. All right. So I'm not sure how Sarah wants us to do this, but I already know what all these puppies look like. This one for me, I really like this puppy. He's probably a little more moderate, but I feel like he's real clean through his shoulders. I like his angles. And then he's got a decent enough forechest. His head is really pretty. Really pretty. Nope. Got a little less bone. Probably, a little less bone. Probably the biggest difference is he is a little more up on leg, even though he might look a little smaller. But he's got a good top, up on leg. His scale might be a little higher than it should be. It's happy. And he's got a great personality here. Better. Yeah. But then he's not as wide either as the other one. So he's gonna be right. His lay on is gonna be better. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. He's not as deep here. Right. And these heads are really pretty all the way around. I mean, I guess I should have did that with the last puppy. But you want to say anything about this one, Sarah? I'm going to talk about them when we get with them. Or you guys say anything more? He also doesn't have the floor chest as much floor chest as the other one. So he's pretty. He's just not overall high. He needs a cookie. This one and Bruno is Bruno. And I've got him mixed up with the first one. But yeah. He was just sound asleep. So right. I'm just step with his rear. He's kind of pups for a little. And he's got huge four chests than the last puppy. He's a little longer, but he's balanced. I feel like more bone, more body depth. Good top. Yeah. He's got a good angle all over them. And again, he's good. He's top of the shoulders here, point of shoulders here, and then way back here is the elbow. So he's got great upper arm and a huge, as you can see, poor chest. He sits super good underneath himself. For me, I tend to like dogs with a little less legs. So if I had to pick one, he would be my pick. I don't know. Do you want to get another puppy? And he would be the pick. To me, he's the pick. Let's go with the first one again. But would be the reason, my reasons why. He to me is just a really, and he just stands here super easy. Just he's not fighting anything. You just pick up his rear and clap it. Oh, clap it. And I know Sarah talked about a V and a U, and this is definitely more of a U. So you want to stack them both together? This was Marvin, the first one. Yeah. So here now between these two, it Sarah, you are a better speaker on all this. Yeah. Well, I should talk. Okay. No, you look terrible. So for me, Bruno, this puppy has a little less four chest. And I feel like he's a little more upright. Yeah, he's like your trade because he's, I got him. I'll take this. He's like, well, these puppies were all just asleep, unfortunately. So they need to kind of wake up to get with the program. Might have to go forward a little bit more. Okay. The other thing we always like to do is just put two on the table that are our favorites and pair them side by side. Just think that's so important, and you can really see. Then you can really see the difference in leg. So this puppy, to me, he just stands up. I think somebody else said this too, but he stands up really naturally. He's well underneath his front. You can see his, I'm going to show you with my finger instead of a dot. His elbow is here and the top of his shoulder is right here. So it's literally right underneath that wither. He has a very full fore chest. So when you put your hand here, it just fills your hand really nicely. He had an unfortunate haircut, so his neck looks a little wonky, but he's very clean to go over. There's a couple little rolls here, and those are really because he, again, has a lot of rib here. So his lay on is not quite as clean as this puppy's probably is, but he's cleaner than the first puppy. He's got a really nice back. His tail, when you are going over tail sets on puppies at this age, he's helping me a little too much go over himself. It's okay, baby. Just relax. You don't want a dramatic drop off over the croup. You should be able to just feel a slight indent with your finger. You don't want, I mean, I know that they should have a slightly rounded croup. The key to me is slightly. You don't want a dog that's tail is going to come out, down here. The tail should still come out off the top of the back, but you can see when I push the hair down here, he does have a slightly rounded croup. There's a little indent there before his tail.
He has a nice balance of, see if I can get him to put his weight evenly again. He has a nice balance front and rear of angulation. He's got a nicely angulated rear, and he's well angulated in the front. This puppy, without just a tiny bit more body length, is not going to be able to use all these angles effectively. So when you get a really cobby puppy that has a lot of angles, or a really short-backed puppy that has a lot of angles, it's going to be difficult for them to use those angles effectively. Again, when you drop him, he's really very true. His front feet are going straight. He may have twisted this one out just a tiny bit, but he's got that straight column of balance here. He's got a very pleasing head. Again, when you look at it, if you tip the muzzle down and you look at the head, back skull, and the muzzle width, he's got a beautiful width of muzzle. He's got a nice length of muzzle. So this muzzle length is approximately equal to his back skull length. He's got an appropriate amount of stop. You wouldn't want any more stop than this. He does have the fluting between his eyes, and he's got a nice square lip line where it comes even with the bottom of his jaw. You can see he does have a little bit more skin under his throat. I have found personally that comes with the more plush face. When you're going to get more of a lip on a dog, especially he's got nice thick lips, you're going to get a little bit more skin down here. It's pretty normal. He has very nice long ear leather. It wraps to the end of his nose. So those are all things that you want to be able to look for in puppies. And this puppy, so this is Bruno, and Bruno is who we're all considering to be our first pick, but I'll go over some of the differences with the boys. Barry?
Or my second is this
Okay.
one.
All right.
This one is my third pick.
Okay.
And
this is where we have some differences of opinion. So Becky is saying, I'm going to take the dots off of him for right now. Becky is saying that this puppy, not this one. It's Barry. So this was Barry, for Barry White.
he was the first.
This is the first puppy that I had on the table earlier.
Second.
For Tekla, he is second pick. For Becky, he's third pick.
No.
And I will tell you in a minute which pick he is of mine. He's likely the second pick for me as well, but we'll see. So,
of course. We'll see.
So
Side by side again.
This puppy we looked at before, so I'm not going to make him hold a stack for a really long time. He's kind of pooping out on me. But he has, stationing-wise, he's got a little bit more leg under him than the last puppy we were looking at. He reminds me a lot of his father, Thomas, just in terms of his stationing and his body and everything. He's just really tired right now. So this puppy, to me, again, his lay on is not quite as good as because of the body width on him. He does have a little bit, to me, he has a little bit straighter shoulder angle than I like to see. It's still not bad though. You can see that where I put my finger at the top of the shoulder blade and where I put my finger at the point of shoulder, it's not as if his shoulders are up in his neck. It still has nice layback, but he has better return of upper arm. So this is the point of shoulder. This is the point of elbow. And this line is a little bit better than the layback here. I do like this puppy's substance. I like his headpiece. To me, this is a little bit more pleasing head than the first puppy, Bruno. It's just not quite as much skin. It is a little bit cleaner through the back skull. He still has very nice bone and substance. He's got decent forechest. I think he has a little bit more than we're going to call him Becky's puppy, but Marvin. So when you look at him again, this fills your hand really nicely. You can see a couple little rolls over his shoulders, and that can be indicative of the layback and the lay on of the shoulder. It's also, he accidentally got his neck shaved because he jumped. But so this would actually be my second pick puppy. Marvin, you gonna back up? So this puppy has a very cute personality. He is into everything. He's very outgoing. He's very cute. He does need a home if anybody's looking. He's naughty. He's all the things that Becky likes in a puppy. And we laugh because
Very outgoing.
he is very outgoing. He doesn't like worry about stuff. You can see he's standing up very naturally also. Poor little Barry, the last one we had up, he's a little tired. You might remember that he stacked up better when I first had him on the table. This puppy is a little bit more moderate on both ends. So, and he's just not going to cooperate with me, which is normal. Marvin, you might have to do this one end at a time. So when I feel his point of shoulder is here and his shoulders are here, so the top of his shoulder is a little bit closer to his neck than I would like. I'd like those to lay back here just a little bit more. And you can see he doesn't have quite the length of neck that the other two boys have. And that is definitely affected by the shoulder placement. It still is not a bad layback, but I would like to see a little bit more on my dogs. And then his return of upper arm, we do that with my other hand. He has a very nice return of upper arm. His point of shoulder is here, and the top of his elbow is right here. So that angle is nice on him. And he's decently angled through his rear as well. When you pick and plop him in the rear, he's very true. He's kind of in between a V and a U. I would say for his body size, he's closer to a U than a V. But he's very strong. And even just when you hang this puppy, you can see his legs are all nicely underneath him. And he sets them. I mean, I barely have to adjust anything, and he's really nicely in a stack. So I would say it's a pretty close contest between.
Because he's a pick and plop.
He is, yeah.
But I like.
That's what we refer to them as pick and plop puppies, which means you pick them up, you plop them down, and they're in a stack, which he just demonstrated. And you can see his tails, like he's happy. He's a very happy dog. This puppy has a stunning headpiece. I absolutely love this face. This is very reminiscent of the pedigrees that Becky and I started with, and some of her early dogs and my early dogs. When you feel along the back skull, he's very clean. There's a seam that runs here alongside the eye. And on a puppy, especially a male, sometimes if you're worried about head size or back skull, you want to feel for cleanliness here. This should be a really nice, clean transition. If they have a bone that sticks out further there, they're going to have a wider back skull. And that's something that you can predict pretty reliably. The other thing I really like about his head is the balance of it. Even though he has a little bit more refined or pretty looking face, he still has the lip that falls squarely with his bottom jaw. He has a very pretty amount of stop. This is nearly ideal in terms of amount of stop. His eye placement is really beautiful. It's set into his skull more. He's got a nice amount of brow here that protects that eye. His muzzle length to back skull length is very nice. His ear set is right at the bottom of the eye. Again, he's got those long ears that wrap around the nose. So this is a really beautiful headpiece, and for us, it's very reminiscent of some of our earlier dogs. So, it kind of gives you that nostalgic feel when you look at him. He could have been out of a litter of one of our dogs 25, 30 years ago, probably. He's holding his back a little rounder right now, but he actually has a very nice top line. He does have an appropriate tail set. So I would say it's very close between this puppy and the puppy that Tekla and I put second. And honestly, you know, if we all three grew up one of these boys, we could end up, going back and forth on which one is better from here until eternity, because it comes down sometimes to style and preference. So none of them are perfect. They all have their faults. He needs a cookie to stand up here any longer. But this is when we start talking about different styles of spurs. That would be the difference between these three boys. That's a really good example of style versus type. They all have beautiful breed type. They all have elements that are very correct for a Springer Spaniel. Their leg to body proportions are very nice. Their substance is very nice. But do you prefer a dog that has a little bit more leg and size to it? Do you prefer a dog that's a little closer to the ground, a little more elongated? Is the head piece something that's going to be a tiebreaker for you? Because this boy, I think, has a better head even than our first place puppy. So just something to keep in mind when we talk about type versus style. These are three slightly different styles of dogs, but they are all very typey. Okay, so I think, have gone through all the boys. We can go through and see if there are questions that people had as we were going through. So I'll let Becky do that.
Okay. I have a question about the dog that you thought was Pick. He looks like he's roached over the back.
Okay, this one. Okay, so the question was, is this puppy roached over the back? And I think the answer to that is no. Like when you run your hands over him, what he is doing right now is humping. He's kind of tensing up his back, but he's very balanced when he's standing up. Sorry, I'm going to see if I can get him to stand here nicely. And I don't know if you can see that okay, but this is actually a very level top line. Can you see that, Julie?
Yeah, I can. And part of it's probably the illusion of the white, where the white is in the back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. Okay. He also has white here over his shoulders. So, and these guys were moving targets for their haircuts. So they're certainly not perfect haircuts. But when you run your hand over his back, there is no dip or rise.
Okay.
Okay, Jordan wants to know what structurally is making the difference in neck and shoulder blend between Marvin and Bruno. Bruno seems more abrupt, whereas Marvin seems to blend better into his background. Okay. The difference between
Making the difference in neck and shoulder blend between what structurally is making the difference between neck and shoulder blend between Marvin and Bruno. Bruno seems more abrupt, whereas Marvin seems to blend better into the back one. So some of this is a hair illusion. I was trimming these guys by myself. He actually has a very smooth transition here, but what is going to make it look a little bit rougher on Bruno is that his lay on of his shoulders is not quite as clean as this puppy. So I'm going to trade with you for a second.
Also, I would turn this one around because he looks quite different on the other side.
Bruno seems to be standing over his front better than the other puppy.
Yeah, he does. Yes. This puppy is a little bit more moderate. He's not as angulated as Bruno is. All right, that's not going to work. This puppy has a better lay on of his shoulders. He's going to hang himself on the table. He is smoother through here because the tips of his shoulder blades are closer together. Part of the reason for that, and part of the reason it works with his structure, is that he's a narrower. Let's turn him backwards and sit. It's not going to look narrow, but he is a narrower rib cage than this puppy does. This puppy has a lot of rib spring and a lot of body to him. This puppy is just slightly less. And the lay on of his shoulders is what's giving that better blend right now. He also had a tragic haircut, but right now, if you felt this, his shoulders are wider. So the tips of the shoulder blades sit further apart than this puppy's do. On this, once it muscles in, it'll be smoother as an older dog. But this puppy, because he's not as big bodied, because there's not quite as much to him, he doesn't have quite as much substance. It gives that smoother blend. So we'll start on the girls. If you still have questions on the boys later, feel free to let me know. This puppy is Courtney. She's the dark-faced, dark-marked girl in the face. I'm going to run a brush through her. She is not the most cooperative for stacking, so we're going to start with her because hopefully it'll get better. So this puppy, would it be helpful if I put dots on her? Because I know her markings can be a little hard, and try putting some dots on her. Top of her shoulder blade is about right here. Her point of shoulder is right here. And her elbow is the one that's hard to find because it could look like it's down here, but her elbow is actually up here. And this is why it's important to put your hands on dogs because, these aren't remarkably marking challenge puppies, but you can definitely see that it can make a difference in terms of where your eye goes visually. This is a lovely puppy. She has a nice blend of neck into shoulder. She is a little bit wider set here, not terribly. And when you put your fingers from the top of her shoulder to the point of her shoulder, you can see she's a little bit more upright in that angle. I would like to see that ideally back just a little bit further, but her elbow, I lost that dot. You can see she does sit under herself really well. And that is this angle from the point of shoulder to the elbow is right here. So she has a really nice return of upper arm. She's got a decent amount of forechest. There is enough that you can really rest your hand around it. And then in terms of body depth, I pull this hair up a little bit. She's just below her elbow, just at or below her elbow. She has a very strong top line, nice tail set, and a really nice, I like the thickness of her thigh. One thing I will mention, and Becky and I have been dealing with this for a long time, is that when you get the high white markings on the thigh, that can do a lot to really straighten out the appearance of a rear angulation. So again, it's important to really feel for that bend and look at that in that way. So she's a nicely balanced puppy. She's got a moderate amount of neck. She's got a nice ear length. So one of the things I wanted to talk about with her, and let me just hang her for you. So you can see her legs are coming down nicely underneath her body. When you hang her from the front, she's twisting this foot out just a little bit, but you can see the depth of body here and that she has a nice amount of chest that goes down. When you look at her face, she has a beautiful face. So because these are my puppies, I can really nitpick on them. And one of the things I wanted to say is that as you're going through your own puppies, you need to be extremely critical of what you're looking at. It doesn't do your breeding program any favors to go, well, I see this, but that's okay. I still like this one anyway. You really want to look at them under a microscope. What I like about her head is she has a beautiful plush muzzle. She's got a nice width muzzle, nice lip. But when I turn her head sideways, you can probably see this puppy has a more steep stop than some of the other puppies did. And she also has a little bit more space between her eyes. So her eyes are set a little bit more towards the outside of her head. And I'm trying to show you that stop angle a little bit more. It's actually improved since she was a baby puppy. And this dominess here, I don't worry about. That will flatten out. But I would just like to see a little bit more moderate stop on her head, ideally. In terms of muzzle length, she's got a really nice length of muzzle compared to her back skull. She has a beautiful, beautiful dark black eye that's hard to tell sometimes taking pictures of her if she actually has her eyes open or not because of how dark the eye is, which in my book, the darker the better, especially on a black and white bitch or dog, black and white Springer. But that is where I would hit her face is through this area where in the her foreface is very nice. She has a very nice width of muzzle, but this spacing between her eyes and the height of the stop is a little bit what we would refer to as cockery. It's not dramatic. I've had puppies that have had more dramatic stop than that. She still is going to have a beautiful, pleasing face, but it's not as pretty as some of the other girls that we'll get to here in a few minutes. But overall, she's a nice puppy. She's nice to the hand and everything. The other place that I hit this bitch is that she takes a little bit longer to come out of herself. So she needs to warm up a little bit more. She's not shy with people or anything like that, but she just isn't as resilient as some of the puppies that I have in this litter that are, happy and go lucky and willing to do anything. She's standing up pretty decent right now, but she can be more of a wallflower. And for a show prospect, that isn't necessarily something I would want. And for a breeding prospect, it's like, okay, how carefully do you need to breed that then to make sure you're not going to get dogs that are overly soft? But that's my opinion on her. So this little puppy I call her Mavis, and she is one of the smaller puppies. Well, she and one of the other boys were the smallest ones, but the other boy really caught up. She's still a little bit on the smaller side, but these are not petite puppies. I tend to have big, chunky puppies. So Mavis see if I can get her to stand up better. And see, she drops her legs nicely when I hang her. Just have to do a few little adjustments to her. But she is definitely straighter built in the front than some of the other ones are. So the tip of her shoulder blades are right here at kind of the base of her neck. So again, they're not super far forward. They're not like in her neck space or under her ear. But I would like to see a little bit better layback there. When I put my finger at the top of her shoulder blade versus the point of shoulder, it's just a little bit more of a straight up and down angle than I would like. She does have better return of upper arm. So she sits under herself decently, but she really doesn't have, you can see there's just not much fore chest there to fill your hand when you put your hands between her front legs. Oops, hold on, Mavis. And you can see she looks just a little bunched in here. That to me is also an indication of where her shoulder blade placement is. It's up here more instead of back here. If the shoulder blades were back here more, you would see more length of neck and a little bit smoother blend. Her markings are a little deceiving because it kind of fills all those spaces. But when you look at her from the front, she's twisting this foot out a little bit when she goes down. But when you look at her from the front, you can see that there's really just not as much here as there has been on definitely some of the boys, but you'll see more on some of the bitches we look at as well. She has a darling little face. I know, sit down. You can do it. So she has a very pretty little face. She's got a nice full muzzle. I got nice muzzles and lips on these puppies in general. When you look at the top of her head down, she's got a nice balance between the back skull and the muzzle. She is a little bit shorter in muzzle than some of the puppies I have. It's just, she's kind of a short, square little package all the way around, and her face is kind of the same way. So even though it's a really cute, pleasing face, part of what I also hit her on is she has a rounder eye. Amelia has a slightly rounder eye. And I definitely see that coming through in this puppy. It's just not quite as almond shaped or deep set as I would like it to be, but still a very pretty face. But these are the kinds of things when I'm talking about being hypercritical of your puppies. You really need to know and understand the breed details and the nuances, because that is something that will make a difference in your breeding program overall. So, maybe she has a slightly rounder eye to begin with, and then you breed her to a dog that carries for a rounder eye. And pretty soon you've got dogs with, headlights for eyes that are undesirable in the breed, and it kind of ruins that soft expression. Again, the length of muzzle is something I would hit her on a little bit, but poor little Mavis. She's a very cute little puppy. She is very short coupled here. She's got not as long as of a rib cage as I would like to see on these puppies either. A lot of the other puppies have a lot more length to rib cage, but she is pretty short here. When we pick her up from the rear, she's got a nice U-shaped rear, so she does drop on that very nicely, and she's very solid on it. So it's nitpicking, but you can kind of see the shoulders from this angle. You can see that there's a little bit more of a roll there, and you can also see that she doesn't have very much neck length. So when you have a shorter head, it is going to correspond to the length of neck as well. And that's true in horses, dogs, lots of different animals, but this length is going to pretty much match this length. And on her, it definitely does. So she's got this short, cute little head, but she also has a shorter neck. There are exceptions to every rule that I talk about, but for the most part, that's just something to bear in mind. The other thing I would say about her, as we're picking on poor little Mavis, is she just is a little finer boned than some of the other puppies are. Bitch puppies, I mean. I'm not going to compare her to the boys, but she's got a decent amount of bone, but it is just, she's a little bit more refined overall. Just a little smaller package. But she's cute as a bug. Yeah, you are. So this puppy is Roberta. She is my token liver and white puppy in this litter. I had thought that I read in Thomas's DNA report that he was dominant black, but clearly that's not the case. So let's see if we can get her to cooperate here and stand up. So Roberta is, you can see that she's got a lot more fill out front. Her forechest is more prominent. She is also very clean through the shoulders. She has her shoulder blades, the tips of her shoulder blades sit back here, so well behind her neck. And the angle from her shoulder blade to her point of shoulder is here. So again, that's a nice layback angle. And then if she will continue standing while I do this, her point of shoulder to her elbow is right here. So she has a nice return of upper arm and a nice layback of shoulder. She's also got nice lay on, and you can see how much more neck this puppy has. This is all just hair sticking up here, but this puppy's neck and her head have more length to them. She also has a longer rib cage. So when I feel for the end of her rib cage, it's right here. So she's got a nice short coupled loin there. She's got a very nice top line, correct tail set. She has a nice bend of stifle, but again, this high white can make it look straighter than it actually is. So it's important to feel for that bend because she actually has a fair amount. What you can maybe see if you remember the last puppy, her point of elbow is right here. So she's to her elbow, but she's not as deep as like Courtney was. Courtney has a little bit more body depth, but this is a really well-made puppy. She's got, all of her pieces kind of flow together smoothly. She has a nice span of rib cage. She's deep enough, and she definitely has more fill here than the puppy right before her, Mavis. When I hang her rear, she's got, I would say, in between a V and a U shaped, but for her size, it's probably a little bit more U shaped. You can see how true she drops on her hocks. There's really no tipping in. Those hocks are really nice and strong. And that's just without even setting them. So she's pretty solid on her rear. When we do that from the front, she also drops pretty true in the front. She might twist this foot out a little bit, but you can see what a nice straight column of support we have here, where her legs are well underneath her, but they're also in a very straight line, which is desirable. The other thing I would say about this puppy is she has a more pleasing head and expression than Mavis. And it's more correct than Courtney. Courtney was the darker marked puppy. She has a really nice length of muzzle to back skull. She's got a nice amount of brow and a deeper set eye where the eye is set into her skull. She doesn't have a lot of width between her eyes. Her back skull is very clean, meaning that it's not going to get to be a bulky head. A nice amount of lip, but not excessive lip, but it gives her that plushness to her face without it being pendulous or too much. Oh, she's very tired. Or too much. And you can see when you look at her, she has these dark sleeves that come down on both front legs. And that can be an illusion in terms of her amount of leg. But when I reach from the point of her elbow down to the ground, and then the point of her elbow to her wither, it is half and half. But this puppy has a very pleasing head for an 8-week-old puppy. You can see her planes at this age are already very good. Her expression and length of muzzle is where I would put her over the last bitch and over the first bitch, because it's just more proportionate, more correct right now. Okay, this puppy is Billie. And no, you can't go over in front that much. She is the last of the female puppies that we're going to go over. The first thing you might notice about this puppy is she is really well balanced. She front and rear matches very well. She also has a nice amount of neck. She's smooth through the shoulders. She's got a really nice transition from her neck to shoulder. There's no rolls or ripples or anything. This white hair can give an illusion there is not actually a dip there. So she really sets up very easily. You can see she's got a nice length of neck. She's also got a really nice length of head. I really like her muzzle length. She has a nice amount of forechest. She has a firm top line, a good tail set, correct. She has a nice amount of bend here. Again, that high white can create that illusion where it can straighten out the stifle. So it's important that you really feel that and don't just go off of the impression in the narrative, because that can really throw off what you're seeing or what you're seeing versus what's actually there. She also has, here's her point of elbow where my finger is. Her body is just below the elbow. This high weight here can also create an illusion, making them look leggier or shallower. So as she matures and some of this black hair grows down, that will be less noticeable on her. But this puppy if you've seen any of my dogs, this puppy is my cup of tea. She really is reminiscent to me of dogs in my pedigree. She has a lot of the attributes that I was really hoping to get from this breeding. When you hang her from the front, she normally drops pretty straight, but she's going to twist a little bit. You can see the depth of chest here. So she's coming down nice and deep in between her front legs. She's got nice straight columns of support. Again, with this puppy's head, when I look at it from the top down, comparing her back skull and her muzzle, you have to kind of look past the markings because she has some crazy twisty blaze thing going on here. But you can see the length of muzzle compared to her back skull, and the amount of stop on this puppy is very appropriate. So this bitch and the liver bitch to me are where I am drawn to for these puppies. If you want to we'll stack these two next to each other. These are very different styles of puppy. And I just want to show you that. Becky's
Got
is
it.
standing now. I just have to get mine standing. So you can see that the black bitch, Billie, is more up on leg. She's a little bit bigger package. She's pulling over herself a little too much right now. But they're similarly made in a lot of ways. They just are a little different styles of dog. And this is where something, when you're looking at these puppies, could really come down to what's your style preference, because they're both lovely bitches. Where I probably prefer the black bitch just slightly is she's got a little bit more muzzle length and a little bit more length of neck. She's also got just a really tremendous front assembly. This puppy also has a really nice front assembly. She just doesn't have quite as much return of upper arm, and she's a little bit shorter on neck, but she has a really beautiful face and she has a really nice body. So it comes down to nitpicking with these two and really preference, because I think you could almost go either way in terms of which one is first and which one is second. They're going to fight here but they both are nice, clean little packages. They have a lot of qualities that I think I'm going to sit her this way. So again, when you look at the depth and the amount of leg, she's definitely got longer bones than this puppy does, but they both have really beautiful headpieces. They both have nice parts that flow into each other really well. So let's see if there's any questions that we have from the group. Are there any questions that anyone has? Any points of view that you want to share, or differences that you see that I didn't point out?
Sarah, could you put up your pick boy, pick girl next to each other?
Yeah.
If you could go between, honestly,
When I saw them, I picked the liver bitch.
I would probably hang on to this too if I'm keeping a bitch for a little while longer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because you could either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like the liver girl.
Yeah, I vote for the liver girl.
I will say that fortunately, like a lot of times in my past, I have had to pick one puppy out of the whole litter and keep that puppy. And I am fortunate that I have a really good show home for another bitch. So essentially I'm keeping both, and they're just different styles of kind of the same coin. So it'll be nice to have access to both of them.
Okay.
I totally understand that why people would be drawn to the liver bitch over this one. I can tell you my reasons are a little bit emotional, because this puppy reminds me honestly, she reminded me of an Owen daughter. And that's, for me, that is something that is desirable. I don't mind a little bit of leg under dogs either. I feel like we are losing some leg in some of these dogs. I've been seeing a lot of short-legged springers, and that's really not correct for the breed.
Sarah,
Yeah.
when you get done with these two, can you put your two bitches, the liver bitch, back up with this one? I'd like to see both of their rear ends pointed towards the camera.
Yep.
Okay.
Round was back. Yeah, but I pick them up under the rear. I bet. Detail relax.
I was going to have you stack this one.
Yeah.
Oh, up here. Pretty much their name tag.
I know. We can move that. So she actually matches better with the second pick boy, because I think this boy and the liver bitch match together better than these two do, because she's a little bit more up on leg and the other boy is a little bit more up on leg. But again, when you start looking at the elements of these puppies, the front assembly, the neck and the shoulder, the muzzle length, the knottiness. So, yeah. So let's stack Roberta with the pick boy, and I'll show you what I mean about. I just need to give her a minute to relax, because she's like, really, you're doing this to me again? These two are, to me, more of a matched set than the pick bitches, or at least my pick. I mean, honestly, I have my I would put it this way. I personally have my reasons for why the black bitch is staying at my house, but I'm not about to give this bitch up to a pet home. She's going to a great show home. I will have access to her, and it's nice to have puppies that are two different styles from the same litter with the same pedigree, because it gives you the opportunity to breed them slightly different ways to get to the results you want. So that's just what I would say about this. And then
that's one where my eye gravitates to.
Yeah,
is the brown one.
Yeah, I totally understand why it would for a lot of people. And it isn't that my eye doesn't.
No, I know.
Yeah, this one, because I love her. I think she's stunning. And if I didn't have a great home for her, she would be staying with me without a doubt. So both of these bitches, I think, have nice rears. They are kind of where you can just pick them up and flop them. I think that this one is a little bit more U-shaped, and this one is just a little bit more V-shaped, but she is also a smaller package all the way around. So all things even, I would say that they're fairly comparable in the rears. She's going to have a little bit longer hocks because, again, her bones overall are a little bit longer, but both of them, I think, are really lovely. And when you look at them from this angle, you can see how clean the shoulder and neck blend is on both of them. Whereas the puppy that had the black stripes in her collar, if you remember, her neck looked very short and you could see kind of rolls and stuff there. These two both have better shoulders than the boys do. But sometimes with the boys, they just need to grow into that too.
It looks like Billie's more let down in her rear. She has more bent to her stifle.
Yeah, I would agree. She has a little bit more angulation in front. So then I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to stack this puppy with the second pick boy because these two puppies, I think, are stationed a lot more similarly. So I've got the kind of different styles of puppy. Where he's not quite as clean is through here. And again, it's because he's got a wider lay on. His shoulder blades aren't quite as clean there. She doesn't have those wrinkles because she's got a smoother blend. But these two puppies, I think, are stationed more alike and then I think the liver bitch and the pick boy are stationed very similarly. And I really like this puppy. If anybody wants him, let me know because he's available to a show home or a junior's home. That's just the difference between these guys.
Yeah, they're definitely the same make and shape.
Yeah. Yep. He reminds me of his father. He reminds me of Thomas. But the front, and they both have like a tremendous amount of front. They sit under themselves really well. She's probably got a little bit more bend of stifle than he does. But they're very similar in make and shape and balance. And in heads, I think if you put them, you have to kind of pull his skin down a little bit, but they have very similar faces too.
Mm-hmm.
There any other questions from anyone?
Say, Sarah, just so you know, Roberta's lovely, but I'm not on Team Billie with you. So, but I wondered when you plopped them down on the table, it seemed like a few of them kind of toed out on the left front. Have you noticed that in either of the parents? Do you think that is something that's carried through?
Amelia is very, very straight in front. Thomas, as a young puppy, he could toe out just a tiny bit on that I think it was his left front also. He moves true on it, but when I would pick him up and set him down, he could twist that a little bit. Now that he is more mature and his chest is dropped and everything, his front legs are very straight. So I think it's something developmentally they'll probably grow out of. But ideally you would like to see, them drop very true at an early age.
The rest is they're wondering before I could decide between the favorites, I'd want them to grow up a few weeks and spend my time watching them move. It's hard to do on a virtual experience, I realize, but would be necessary for any decision I would make. We figured that aspect in any of these.
So Henriette posted a comment saying before she really made a decision with the favorites, she would need to spend time watching them on the ground and watching them move. And that's a very good observation. It is something you definitely need to do with puppies. I tend to go structure first, and then I watch them on the ground to just weed out anything quirky that maybe might not be true to form. So I agree completely, and I have had the benefit of watching these guys very closely for, really the 2 months that they've been growing up with me, and watching them move. And this bitch carries herself. She's very light on her feet. She carries her outline when she moves. The boys both do as well. I think that they carry themselves really nicely. The little liver bitch, she always stops, in a really cute little free stack. She may not be as long strided as this puppy should be, but it's hard to tell right now. I do have another couple weeks to really watch them, so that's good. But it's a very good point, Henriette. Thank you for calling that out. Any other questions, comments, feedback?
How old are your puppies now?
They were 8 weeks old on Saturday, so they're like
Oh, okay.
8 weeks in a couple days.
I really like evaluating puppies at that age.
Yeah, exactly. I find that they're really true to that's what they grow into, is if you keep that 8-week picture in mind.
Seems like if you wait one more week, they really shoot up on leg.
Yeah, they definitely
And
change. They change a lot between 6 and 8 weeks, and they change a lot between 8 and 9 and 10 weeks for sure. So if you like them at 8 weeks, we usually say keep that picture in mind, because they might get ugly for a while. I've had some that were atrocious for a while. Some people remember Frankie. But if you keep that 8-week picture in mind, it really tends to hold true to what they're going to grow into.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate everyone joining us for this and for taking part in the puppy evaluation, for your questions and feedback. If you have things that you think of over the next couple days, even as you watch the video again, feel free to message me with any questions. You can reach me on Facebook Messenger, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can about these guys. And when I do the video, I'll try to post some stacked pictures of both parents and then the pedigree, so you can get an idea of what I'm seeing that is familial to me. Aren't you tired, baby?
Yeah. Sarah, thank you so much. And thanks, Becky and Tekla. I think for your first foray into virtual teaching, it's been a huge success. So thank you to all of you. This was a great opportunity. We really appreciate that you're doing it.
No problem. And I absolutely thank Becky and Tekla for helping me wrangle and get through all of this, because it's not a one-person job for sure. So thank you guys. All right. Well, I think we can end the recording, and it might take a day or two to have the video up, but we will get that posted again too, in case you want to rewind and look at any puppies or anything. So
Here's a comment.
Oh, sorry. One more comment.
Any chance you can share videos of them moving with commentary later?
I can try. I can't guarantee that right now, but I will try to do that as I can. It's hard sometimes to do it by myself.
Yeah, I just thought maybe if you had a chance when you had someone around, you could
Yeah.
you could try to get some movement and some commentary, because I think for me, it would be nice to see it as puppies versus their stacks versus, as they grow up and what they're doing in the ring. It would be nice to see the difference. So,
Well, I mean, hopefully you guys will see them in the ring down the road for sure. So you can kind of keep that in mind. But if I can get some movement shots, I will definitely try to do that too.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. And
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye now.
thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.